Hello.
Oh,
Hello,
yeah.
you look very Christmassy.
Yeah, 1st of December, we've got snow outside and the festive tech calendar kicked off today. So I thought, put a nice festive jumper on, got Clippy from Microsoft. Yeah, had to be done.
Oh, I'm not dressed for the occasion today. I'm wearing an Azure Live hoodie, and I see that the t-shirt's in a different color. Can you guess which t-shirt?
Is that your
Yeah, that-
Cillian one by any
It's a
chance?
Cilium t-shirt. Carl's not here
Very
today,
nice.
so we had to mention Cilium.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a Cilium t-shirt, even though you don't see it. It's not snowing here today, but it is very, very cold.
Yeah.
All right. So I see I'm getting a Teams call from someone because I did not close Teams. So I'm just gonna Frank, if you're watching, not now. Okay, I'll press leave and close. Okay. So here we go. Let's try that again. I still have Teams open. Welcome everyone. Today we're gonna talk about. It's gonna be a little different today. Well, Carl's not here because Carl is a little bit busy. Hopefully he'll be back next week. So this week is going to be Richard and myself, and it's going to be a special one because we decided we wanted to talk about platform engineering,
Mm-hmm.
and
It's a big topic. It's very hot
it's a
right
big
now.
topic. Socials, all over socials, platform engineering. There's lots to be said about it, lots of opinions, and then there's also, do you do DevOps or platform engineering, or how does it tie together? And well, we've got some opinions on that and what we do in our
Mm-hmm.
day to day business. But before we do that, Richard, how was your week?
Yeah, week's been good. Been a busy week. Lots of meetings and some training I've done to do with the cloud native world. Obviously, a lot of prep for the festive tech calendar, which kicked off today. So that's a bit of content every day for the whole month of December. So if you Google festive tech calendar, you can go and check out that. It's awesome technical content. For the whole month of December, which is cool.
I watched that kickoff this morning. That it's a lot of sessions. It's a lot of content. It's not one thing a day. It's not like 31 different sessions. It's more than 100. It's a lot.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
very
It's a lot
impressive.
of work behind the scenes, but it's good. It's awesome to see all the different types of content. We've got a lot more cloud native content this year as well, which is good. So we're branching out from just the Azure world and the sort of cloud world to this whole cloud native world. And hopefully next year we'll see even more, which will be awesome.
Yeah, and here at Cloud Native Weekly, we're delivering a session as well, right?
We are, yes, on the 9th, I think it
9th.
goes live. So
Next
we'll
Saturday.
pre-record that one. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll pre-record that, and well, it is going to be fun. I think this morning they asked you a question. Can you tell us a little bit about it and what we're going to do? And nope. Well,
Nope.
yes, I have a story in my head on how we're going to do this, but no, it's all live. We just do it. We get it done. That's how we
One
roll.
take, record, done.
That's it. I mean, that always works best, right? Even though if you make a mistake or something, that's fine.
Yeah, it's
It
real world,
kinda
isn't it?
It's real world. I was well, I'll just start talking about my week because I'm talking
Yes.
anyway. It was a good example. This Tuesday, was it Tuesday? No, it was Monday where Simon did a demo on static web apps for a user group. It's the user group of Nick.
Azure Cloud Enthusiast or something like that.
Enthusiasts, yeah. But it was Simon did a session there, and he did a really good presentation, and then a really good session and good demo, and then something he made a boo boo somewhere in the demo, which happens. I mean, it happens to all of us every time. But and then he fixed it, and it's like live troubleshooting and debugging it. That makes a demo for me, right?
Yeah, same.
Messing it up, doing it, it just makes it.
Yeah, live troubleshooting, seeing that thought pattern behind how you go and troubleshoot an issue, definitely highlight of any demo for me.
Yeah, for me as well. Well, what we did, just saying hi in chat here. Hello, LinkedIn user. Doesn't share a name, but I'm very
Yeah.
happy you're here. Um, yeah. So the rest of my week, well, it's been lots of calls. That I'd say that's my week. Um, and this morning I have been playing with some AWS permissions for
Nice. I hate them.
yeah yeah we do a hackathon internally. Um, and some of our developers needed some specific permissions, and me not being the specialist on IAM on AWS, it took me 2.5 hours to get it sorted, but it's done.
That's good.
It's when I gained a newfound appreciation of Azure RBAC and Entra
Mm,
ID. It's such a good solution.
nice. Yeah.
Other
If
than
I
that,
remember right, I am in AWS has always been this way. You need to be like an expert on JSON and everything just to get it to work correctly.
oh yeah, and get the right IDs and understand the accounts and organizations and the users and all of that. But
Mm,
other than that, this week, meetings, yearly preparation for next year, some exciting stuff happening, which I'll share in the upcoming week probably. Um,
cool.
what else? What else? We now have an aquarium downstairs with fish, which was
I've seen
quite the
pictures.
journey over a week's
Looks
time.
cool.
Yeah, I'm very happy with that. I found that just looking at fish will put your mind at ease. It's like kind
Mm.
of getting hypnotized. I was just sitting there last evening for like 15 minutes. Not creepy, not scary, I swear. But I was just sitting there watching fish. And I thought, well, what a extraordinary or weird animal. But yeah, um, from a tech perspective, no, just mainly troubleshooting, uh, AWS permissions, and yeah, that was it. And then today we have this, and I'm shooting for an early start of the weekend today.
Sounds good. I might join you on that.
Guys, you should definitely do that. We've done plenty of stuff. Um, well, platform engineering then, right?
Yeah.
Platform
What a
engineering.
topic.
I was it was a couple of months ago when it started becoming more vocal on socials regarding platform engineering, and it's sad that Karl couldn't be here because he's got quite the opinion on this and a lot of
Yeah.
reading up on it as well. Um, when I was really reading up on the principles and that kind of stuff, I thought, hey, there are some customers where we actually deliver these kind of services, even though we work in a DevOps motion. Um, but a lot of the day-to-day tasks that we do are actually related to platform engineering. Like, hey, this sounds and looks very, very familiar to me. So definitely an interesting topic, and we do see that a lot of companies and open source projects are definitely jumping on that bandwagon because there's blog
Hmm.
posts coming out left and right, platforms being released left and right. Um, what's your
Whole new
experience with
stacks
platform?
being
Whole new
created
stacks.
as well. Yeah.
Was
It's
it
going
i- i-
crazy.
internal developer platforms?
Yep. Yep.
Uh, what's your thought on it?
I like it. I like that we have been doing this before, and it's from the ops perspective, but it was more focused for a platform for the operations to assist the developers to get their stuff deployed, and that we would create them like Ansible playbooks or uh, infrastructure as code, so they could deploy their whole development platform themselves, and we would give them this code and they can run it, and then we would troubleshoot it if it goes wrong and stuff like that. But now we're sort of abstracting that part away from the developers, so they don't even need to see that part, and they just click a button or run a simple command and everything's there ready for them. They can deploy their application without having to worry about the underlying platform. And I think that's definitely the way to go. DevOps was brought in to get devs to learn more about the ops side and the ops to learn more about the dev side. Didn't really work out as most people wanted. It became more of a job role rather than actual discipline and practice. And maybe this new platform engineering term, which is also a job role, would actually change it and bring it back to how it should be, and make the two teams work better together. So hopefully it happens like that, but we'll see.
And there's I mean it is definitely popular. I think it was about 2 weeks. Was it 2 weeks ago that I did a session on that user group? Yeah, it was
Yeah, I think it
and it's
was.
called and that was actually called the Azure Platform Engineering User Group. So
Yep.
there's even user groups regarding this. And I did a session on Flux and GitOps using AKS. Yeah, I think in general for me, DevOps is like the philosophy, and there's a good website, by the way, what is it? Platformengineering.org. I have it on my other screen.
Yes.
Um, and there's some very nice blog posts there as well, and also with some references to some books I've read before. Team Topologies being a very, very good book that also talks about anti-patterns of DevOps. And there's a very good blog post on there that states like, hey, DevOps, the philosophy, it works. Companies like AWS and Google, and you know, they're doing that and it works. But in smaller companies, it can be somewhat of a challenge. And then exactly what you just said, Richard, is happening. The developer starts doing some ops stuff, and then at some point, 50% of their work will be ops. And then yes, they do DevOps, but they no longer have all the time they need to focus on the actual development. Um, so basically, it's becoming a developer and sysadmin role
Mm.
at once, right? And that's not what you want. DevOps is actually a discipline. It's automating, managing those tool change and all of that. And I think that's where platform engineering comes in, like providing that self-service experience. I mean, you can still
Hmm.
work in a DevOps flow and do Scrum and Agile and do all of that. But the thing you're delivering, the thing you're building, that's actually called platform engineering. And I found that we do that quite often, actually.
Yeah. And I was going to say, like, on the best thing about this new platform engineering as well, and these developers don't need to worry about the business security requirements and stuff like that. They literally are just deploying a recipe or a deployment stack of what is allowed to be deployed. They got these guardrails around it. So I think we're actually going to see an improved security posture in a lot of systems thanks to the whole concept of platform engineering, which is cool.
Yeah, and I think I'm just pulling up the next concept that we need to talk about, which is a big part of platform engineering, or at least that's I think where the commercial part comes in for a lot of
Mhm.
software companies that build stuff. It's the internal developer platform.
Yes.
And you can see there's the website also starts with a quote from Kelsey Hightower, or at least with a tweet. He also has very good opinions on DevOps and platform engineering. So what is a internal developer platform, and do we even need it?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Like, let's take Radius, for example, which you did a show about a couple of weeks or so ago.
Yep. Yeah.
That is technically an internal developer platform, but it doesn't have a web GUI. It's all command line. So do we need that, or do we just have a repository in Git with just a bunch of bicep modules and then or Terraform modules, and then you can just have some set of guardrails inside your modules, and then you can only input um, the sort of parameters you need to get the stuff deployed, and you're protecting it behind the scenes. Is that enough, or do we need to go to full hog with things like Backstage, get that whole GUI based system? It's a very good question.
I think there's a little truth to both of it. I'm a CLI guy, right?
Hmm.
If there's a GUI, it's likely that I'm not using it. But then again, if you look at platform engineering and you have very, very big chains in your whole process with different tools, I can imagine that for people getting started or people having to understand the process, that doesn't matter how junior or senior you are. If the process is big and complex enough, then a GUI will definitely help for some initial
Hmm.
understanding. Um, I think that's also where a GUI needs to stop. That's my personal opinion. I know lots of people like to do the click ops thing, and that's perfectly
Hmm.
fine. But I'm always afraid that if we start clicking too much, we stop typing too much, we stop writing code, we
Hmm.
don't commit it to source control, and we end up with deviation from what we initially wanted to achieve. Not that that will necessarily happen, but that's why my philosophy is I stick to code. What I do find challenging is that the abbreviation for internal developer platform is IDP.
Hmm.
I've got a background in infrastructure, so uh,
Yep, same.
to me,
Intrusion
IDP.
detection.
Then it can be identity platform, intrusion
Yeah,
detection prevention. It can be
yeah.
so
So many.
we've got another IDP now. So we've got
Hmm.
more IDPs. But on the website internaldeveloperplatform.org, there's a website for everything. There's a very nice quote on what an internal developer platform is, and then it does give a lot of context. So it states that an internal developer platform is built by a platform team to build golden paths and enable developer self-service.
Which is cool. But I want to ask a question on that. On that
Hmm.
sentence you just said, you said the platform engineering team need to build a IDP themselves.
Built by a
Like
platform
a
team. Yeah.
Yeah. So now, do they go and build the software themselves to deploy the infrastructure and the software, or do they use one off the shelf and customize it?
I think you
Is
can
there a
do
right
both.
way? Is there a wrong way? Yeah, I think so
I don't.
too.
Um, I think even now we're talking about an IDP, but in the end, you talk about self-service, right? So what we do
Hmm.
for our customers, we also build workload APIs where
Yep.
not just developers can deploy the next version of their solution, and it then provisions all the AKS stuff, and it starts up containers, and it deploys databases, storage accounts, and whatever by for them calling an API with, for example, customer name and database type and that kind of stuff. Um, it's not just for developers. We also provide it for operations teams at our customers. And in the end, and that's always my, if you talk about a golden path, I like to call it happy flow or happy flow. That is something else, but golden path. What my goal is, or what I always like to see is, we deliver software where we work. We do stuff for software companies, right? So they also have customers, so they also have a sales team. So ideally, you build it, you build your APIs, you build your workload APIs, you build a platform, you manage the platform so that when someone on the customer side goes to an end customer and says, "Hey, do you want to buy a license for my product because it's amazing?" They go, "Yes." They put it in the CRM system, and that will trigger all the APIs and calls, and it will actually be automatically provisioned by the salesperson. The same thing goes for self-service. A customer goes to your portal and says, "I want to buy this product," and it will provision all the stuff in the backend. I want to have that subscription. I think to me that those technologies can only be very successful if you do platform engineering really well. I
Hmm.
think that's what platform engineering for me entails. Not just providing stuff to developers, but for everyone needs to interact with the platform that impacts infrastructure.
Yeah, that's a good point because obviously at the moment, platform engineering, we're talking about IDPs, internal developer platforms.
Hmm.
But why stop there? Why stop at just an internal development platform? Why not take it like you said we do for some of our customers to the next level to let their customers do self-service as well and actually onboard themselves? We've got
Hmm.
loads of customers out there who currently do this already. So they started that way and now they're going back and doing it for the internal developer platform. But should they be different names? Should they be the same thing? Should we look at renaming IDP to just something self-serve platform instead of internal
Hmm.
developer platform? It's early days, but there's so much scope here. I think we can improve on in this platform engineering world.
Well, it's kind of like an IDP in this case. It's kind of like the self-service platform, right? Not just Portal. I mean,
Mm.
Portal refers to GUI for me, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a GUI, like I just said.
Yep.
Um, but it's like this website has got very good information. So the 5 core components of an internal developer platform: application and configuration management, infrastructure orchestration, environment management, deployment management, and RBAC. Um, I think that is something you definitely want to have, want to provide to your developers and to any other team, you know, working with stuff.
Hmm.
I think what platform engineering in general will provide for teams is a better distinction between what does a developer do and what does an ops person do.
Yep.
Um, for me, platform engineering is like the natural progression or evolution of what we used to call sysadmin.
Yes, yeah, I would 100% agree with that. The sysadmins were doing automation or should be doing automation,
Should
and
be
that's just
doing.
taking
Yeah.
should be doing.
Yeah.
Most do nowadays, thanks to the helps of PowerShell,
Oh yeah.
which is multi OS now and stuff like that. You got the likes of Ansible and Chef back in the day. Don't see
Oh,
Chef
chef.
much anymore, but yeah,
Puppet, chef and puppet.
Puppet. Yes, yeah. So yeah, it's like sysadmins are the new platform engineer is the new sysadmins, I guess, is what you're
Hmm.
trying to say. And that kind of makes sense. Being from a sysadmin background, we were doing this many years ago with the VMSS virtual machine, like VMware and the Hyper-V equivalent virtual machine manager. You were able to give developers a self-service platform to go and deploy a whole new VM based on t-shirt sizes and stuff. And now we're just bringing that back, but for the cloud native world, which is quite cool to see. It's like it's a weird cycle, isn't it, in a way, because it sort of gets to a point, it resets with this new technology. So we had
Hmm.
physical machines which would have more processes rather than self-service, because getting something ordered could be a bit harder. Then you had virtual machines where you could use VMware and virtual machine manager to self-service virtual machines. And now that's all. And so that was your IDP, your platform for people. And now we've gone to Kubernetes and containers. We started off with the stuff, and now we're building this platform back on top. So it's like a cycle in a way, which is quite interesting when you sort of think about it.
It is, and I think so. What I do, that's my opinion. It's still a platform engineer. It will force you to understand more of the developer side of things, um, and this all boils down to collaboration. If you don't nail your collaboration, whether you call it platform engineer, DevOps engineer, sysadmin, chief of interns, developer, lead developer, doesn't matter. If you don't have the collaboration, you don't know what platform you're going to build. You don't know what the requirements are. So even during maintenance, so basically what I'm saying is platform engineering will not mean that there's going to be two separate teams again,
Hmm.
and we
That big
chuck stuff
wall
over the
back up.
fence. Yeah,
Yeah.
the wall of confusion, as we like to call it
Yeah.
in DevOps terms. There have been lots of presentations about that. I think it's going to nurture more collaboration, because as a platform engineer, if you really want to build that perfect internal developer platform, whether you build it yourself or you get one of those out of the box ones, which, to be honest, you still need to do a lot of configuration and management.
Hmm.
They are just a kickstarter to scaffold your internal developer platform. Um, you will always need to engage with developers and vice versa to get new requirements. If a new feature to a solution is added and new technologies in that public cloud are required. So let's say we
Yep.
weren't using storage accounts, but now you do need storage accounts, then you do need to retrofit that into your internal developer platform and provide that right infrastructure orchestration. So it's always going to be a big collaboration. Does that mean that DevOps engineers will turn into platform engineers?
Well, that's a good question. Now, potentially, it all depends on how the companies run,
Yeah.
I guess, and if they are going to go down the platform engineer. But I do see it as a sort of a progressional path for someone if they are at a company that is starting to look at it. A DevOps engineer would be a good fit for a platform engineer, I believe. But are they the same thing? No, they're not. But it's definitely that sort of maybe next step up or step across, maybe.
I think if for especially the bigger companies that have dedicated roles for DevOps engineers and that focus on managing pipelines, deploying the solution, building the solution, and automating a lot of the stuff that comes post writing code, let's just put it that way, um, that will remain. For DevOps engineers or DevOps engineering teams where it's a bit of a gray area, as in we created a DevOps engineer role, and it's not mainly focused on just automation, but actually way more. That will probably evolve into platform engineering. That's what I think.
Nice, nice. And a bit because I noticed the time we're like
Oh,
25
oh
minutes
wow.
through.
And
So
Carl's
we're
not
talking
even
a lot.
here.
I know. So earlier we've sort of mentioned about these stacks. So
Mhm.
there's obviously we got this new one out called Canoe, CNOE.io. I'll pop it up on the screen now.
What I like about
Which,
that is the logo and the name.
yes, it is a good name, and that's going to be using things like well, first off, it stands for Cloud Native Operational Excellence. So something we've seen before. I've put an open cost one up for some reason.
Yeah, I
It
always
was
just
this
gotta
one here.
check it. Yeah.
So that your cloud native operational excellence. So like if you're in an infrastructure world, you sort of have your center of excellence already. So it's kind of that, but for cloud native. And it's like a predefined stack which contains various tools like the GUI, which I think is using Backstage, because everything is using Backstage in this platform world now. Backstage came out of, I want to say, Spotify, if I remember correctly,
Yeah. Yeah.
because they use that a lot. And then it's using a GitOps controller, because GitOps seems to be where most people are going for the deployment of your resources into a Kubernetes world. And I think they're using Argo for that, but obviously, you'd want to ideally be able to switch it out and just take the principle of GitOps. And then it just has some other things for the IDP and stuff like that. But then they've also created the Backstack, which is Backstage again, Argo CD, cross-plane for the infrastructure deployment side of it. So like you can deploy to multi-clouds and stuff using YAML files from your Kubernetes cluster. We should probably do a session on cross-plane at one point, actually,
Oh, we
thinking
can.
about it. We
We can do
definitely
next
should
week.
do that. Yeah, potentially. Yeah, we'll see if we've got the time to squeeze in some learnings and stuff.
Yeah.
And then obviously it uses things like Kivano, which is like your policy stuff. So they're covering all these bases. So if you are going to start thinking about doing your own stack for platform engineering, probably you want to think of a GUI, even though CLI is probably okay, but we're finding most people like a GUI. So look at that. Use GitOps if you can. Doesn't matter if it's Argo or Flux, but I think Argo seems to win again because of the GUI, and everyone loves a GUI. And then you've got your infrastructure deployment. So Radius uses Bicep and Terraform. The Backstack is using Crossplane. So pick which one you're familiar with and use that. I would recommend. And then for your policies, use whatever your cloud provider supports. So like if you're using Azure and you want to not just worry about just the Kubernetes side of it, but the whole infrastructure, then you go for things like Azure Policy and OPA, Open Policy Agent, and stuff like that. If it's just a Kubernetes world you've got, then maybe look at Kivano or Gatekeeper, but make sure it's interchangeable and they're supported in wherever you want to run it. So lots to think about, I would say. Oh, you got Canoe up. The logo
I
is cool.
thought I'll put it up on the screen because what is very interesting about this, and it kind of reiterates what we just said. So if you look at what is Canoe, then you can scroll a bit down. And it also says what Canoe is not. And I think that counts for most developer platforms. Not only a
Can you
unified
zoom
control
in a
plane.
bit?
Oh, did I zoom
Just
in? Can we zoom in more?
just
All right.
yeah, there
Hold
we go.
on.
Scroll down.
This.
There we go. That's
Right.
better.
Not only a unified control plane, but building blocks for them to expand. Building blocks being the key here. I think that is for most IDPs. It's not one single pane of glass. It is something you can build on top of, and that means you need platform engineers to actually do that and understand it. And overall, I really like the website because it's very, very basic in its explanation. It's very clear. There's a very big GitHub repository with or GitHub organization with a lot of repositories like your IDP builder. Spin up a complete internal developer platform with only Docker required as a dependency. You can go above and beyond, but for like all of the IDPs we just mentioned, they're building blocks and you need to make them fit your organization. That also means that even though these are nice frameworks, you don't always have to do everything. You need to do what's right for your scenario.
Yeah.
Because if this is where a lot of these things go wrong, we take the framework, we take the picture. I always like the example of I really love the architecture frameworks and the well-architected framework and the cloud adoption framework and all of that were started within Microsoft and then pushed throughout the world. I really like that, but I also see the danger there that people will literally do, well, they will do literally what it says exactly
Hmm.
by every sentence, which is where you're going to create a lot of processes that might not even be required for your scenario. So, like with every framework, you pick what you need and that's what you stick to. And that's
Yeah.
what these tools provide. And that's what I really like about it.
Yeah, definitely. It's like there's no glass slipper out there thinking, Disney Cinderella and that. There's no one tool for everything. It's up to you and pick what works for you.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it's supposed to go. That's always the biggest warning with out of the box toolings and platforms and things like that. Frameworks, just stick to what you need and implement
Hmm.
that. I feel we
Right.
can talk about platform engineering for probably the rest of the day.
We could,
we
but we should.
kind of do, but
Yeah. We should probably let the listeners, the watchers, have some time to not
yeah,
listen to us ramble about platform engineering. We've been here about 30-ish minutes, so
yeah.
probably a good time to wrap up. If Karl was here, I think we'd be at like an hour by now. So
We do, and I think that's kind of what we always do. We get excited and we talk about it, even though sometimes we're just discovering it on the go and think about
mhm.
the possibilities. We had that on a workshop we did this week. We did a Kubernetes workshop, and at the end, we were just talking about new features and no longer sticking to our workshop content. And
Mhm.
well, we barely made it within time, but then we get so excited, we just keep talking and talking and
Yeah.
go like, "Oh, but what if we do this? Oh, what if we do that?" Um, that's still cool though. It's passion.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
All right.
Right.
Well, then we're gonna wrap up and see if we can fit some cross-plane testing in the next couple of days and organize that for next week.
Sounds good.
So thank you for joining, Richard. Everyone, thanks for watching. Thank you for watching. If you're watching this at a later time, don't forget to check out all the beautiful festive tech sessions coming out each and every day, even in the weekends. Sessions coming out. Don't forget to
Yep.
check them out. And with that, we're out. Thank you
Thanks,
very much for
everyone.
joining. Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.